Father Miller here. Welcome back to the Nerd Father. Happy to have Father Bem here It's been a while.
It has been a while. I have not joined you for quite some time.
Well, I've been doing solo streams. Yeah, I've been doing solo streams because, as I've been mentioning every week, I know you guys are all busy with your schedules and everything.
Yeah, totally. But it's all right. Normally, Monday is my day off, and so normally I try and just kind of chill out on Sunday night. But I'm teaching a class this semester, and so I have to teach tomorrow afternoon. But I also have a funeral in the morning, so I'm just staying around the rectory tonight. Don't have much going on. Last week I was given a retreat for some confirmandi, but here I am. So it's.
And you said you had confirmation today?
We did, yeah. Our parish did. And so last week I was given a retreat for a different parish, but today we had ours. I didn't have to do much. I just was there and concelebrated. But 3 masses today, 1 last night, so 4 for the liturgical.
That's my average weekend.
Really, man.
Oh yeah. I got 3 parishes.
Yeah, I know, and I think that's just, it strikes me as crazy, like, because in my mind, I just think of, like, the guys like priests. I'm like, man, you guys must just have a ton of masses available there. That's, if you're doing 4 weekends,
it's part of the reason we have cats trying to get my attention and everything. Jeff Burson is here. Good to see you, Jeff. We still have to do a live stream one of these days. But we do have a lot of priests, but the thing is we have a lot of the parishes still open, so we really haven't closed a parish intentionally, and I don't know. I think the last time they did that was they suppressed the Czech parish, mostly because it's not enough people are still speaking Czech these days.
Right.
My cousin's here. Good to see you, Stephanie. So... But I'm off to the big city tomorrow. I'm taking a few days off. I need to get away. I'm looking forward to it. I'm heading back early because I found out I might be getting the shot on Friday.
Oh, okay. So you're going to get your vaccine.
I think so.
Good.
We're waiting to see if I get accepted tomorrow. Because for some reason, the clergy are not listed in the top tiers in our state.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we are. We're tier 1 right off the bat, but I have not gotten mine yet. The 2 priests that I live with have, but I have not. So I'm kind of holding out a little bit.
I don't know. I just want to get it done. I don't. Like I said, I'm itching to get back home. My parents got their first shot like 2 weeks ago, and hopefully they'll get it the second one soon. And we already got a question: which vaccine are you going to get? It really depends what's available. I think because Johnson & Johnson is still too new that there's not much of it out there yet. So hopefully it's Moderna or AstraZeneca. And part of the thing is, you probably know, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is morally compromised.
Well, they all are to some degree.
Well, they are, but
that one is more. It's more less remote than the others.
And that was the thing I was trying to explain at Mass this morning. And it's been a while since I've talked about the remote versus proximate cooperation with evil. Mm-hmm. I think those are if I remember, those are the terms.
Well, yes, but so there's a couple of distinctions, right? So there's formal and material. But then within material cooperation, there's also what we call proximate and remote.
Okay.
And so
it's been a long time since I've had to explain this stuff.
No, it's all right. I was blessed. I don't know what you had for moral theology in the seminary. I was really blessed to have. I'll give a shout out here online, Dr. Christian Bruger, who, in my estimation, is one of the finest moral theologians that the church has today, and he really drilled this stuff into us when I was going through school.
Just to let you know, Snorta Poop is. Hope I got that right. Interesting name.
Okay.
So one of the things our bishop told us is that if you can, you should ask for the Moderna or the AstraZeneca. If that's not available, you could, in good conscience, receive the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
Now, that's interesting to me about the AstraZeneca, because I had heard that one was the most morally compromised of the four. I had heard that the Pfizer and the Moderna.
Well, let me bring up the chart.
The least morally compromised. But then again, your bishop is kind of an expert on these matters. I mean, he really is. Bishop Conley is brilliant when it comes to morality. I remember listening to him preach to us a number of times when I was in seminary, and he was the auxiliary there in Denver. Good man.
I haven't seen him. He's back now. He's back on the job here.
Yeah, it's good.
And I haven't seen him. We'll come back to this article here. I was going to start out with Father Capin. They found his remains, as you heard.
Yeah.
So very excited about that. Let's see, Pfizer. So let's take a look. I got the little chart that I found on the pro-life thing. So this is a chart using abortion-derived cell lines versus abortion-derived cell lines used in vaccine testing. So the development versus the testing. I don't know how that works and everything, but they said yes to the Johnson & Johnson for both of them, and it gives it an ethical pro-life of very poor. Now, that said, okay, AstraZeneca is both yeses too. I misspoke on that. Moderna, right. What is it, okay, so Jeff was mentioning Pfizer. I think I got my vaccines mixed up. So it's Moderna and Pfizer that are out, right, that are considered to be ethically good. But the Johnson & Johnson and the AstraZeneca, and I'm going to have to correct myself in the pulpit next week because I mentioned AstraZeneca. But I don't think that's been approved then. Well,
yeah, it happens to the best of us. Don't stress. But no.
I'm not.
Yeah. It's a difficult thing to explain, and I know within the church there's a lot of debate on this. You have a handful of bishops that are saying, they're not going to get vaccinated at all. The majority of them are saying essentially what you're saying. That it's fine. You can do this in good conscience.
It's looking at the way I would say it's like our taxpayer money, even though we are not intending it to go to, thanks to Biden with the Mexico City policy.
Right.
It's not that we're intending it. Right. Oh, did he get rid of that?
Yeah. They ditched it in the last round of COVID relief. The $1.9 trillion bill, of which $1.5 trillion doesn't really go for COVID things. At least that's what I'm told. I don't know.
Let me see. What was it?
To be honest, I used to be all into that. I try to not follow it as much as I used to.
Okay, so
I think they did get rid of the Hyde Amendment.
Someone did the math. So 1.9 trillion for COVID relief divided by 330 million people is $5,757.
Yep.
And we're going to get 1,400.
Yeah. So I haven't dug into it by any means. I hope the rest of it is going for something worthwhile, and hopefully it doesn't lead to too much inflation. But not to draw this back, but I don't know what your experience was in seminary, but I always found the study of material cooperation and evil, or just cooperation and evil, period. I always found it to be a difficult topic to really wrap your mind around. When I taught morality in a Catholic high school for, 2 years. And I always found that my students had the hardest time grasping the distinction between proportionalism and the proportionality principle as it pertains to the principle of double effect, but then also the proportionality principle as it pertains to cooperation and evil. These things are not simple by any stretch of the imagination.
See, and I haven't had to teach that because I taught church history.
Yeah, you're lucky.
And that was the only topic I taught.
Yeah, I'm teaching sacraments again this semester.
Oh, that's
it's sort
fun.
of a weird thing. I love it. It's just 12 students, but they're great little kids. I mean, they're not little; they're young men and women. But it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun.
So
this is quite the chart. I'm gonna have to take a peek at this.
Okay. Remind me. I'll send it to you.
Oh, here. I got an easier way to do this.
You got a screen capture?
Shift 4. Screenshot, yeah.
So I have to share this other thing that I'm doing. So for those watching, they know that I chose the name Nerd Father because I am a nerd. But what's been fun is I've been doing live streaming with a rabbi from Israel.
Oh, no kid.
And he is a nerd as well. And I'll probably be advertising this again towards the end of the show, but we're going to be streaming again this Friday. Let's see, I think this is it.
What is the definition of a nerd?
It's kind of hard to explain. Basically, geek, nerd, into comic books, sci-fi, computers, technology. I don't know. I mean, but this is. But this is his channel is the Rabbi from Another Planet.
Oh, nice.
And great guy. I streamed on his channel Friday. He's coming over to my channel this Friday. We're doing it a little bit early because he has to get done before the Sabbath.
Oh, sure.
So, but the idea of it is, as he came up with the title, a weekly look at nerddom's news of the week for the theologically minded.
Okay. So
one of the things. Well, this last week was a mixture of questions about Catholicism, and then I was asking him questions about Judaism.
Cool.
So it was good.
Judaism spans the whole gamut, as you know. Is this guy? Is he Hasidic Jew? Is he Reformed Jew? Do you have any idea?
I have not exact. I mean, he wears the yarmulke.
Okay.
But I don't think he wears the tassels or.
Oh yeah. Can't think of what they're called.
I have to ask him.
Yeah, I can't think of what they're called, but okay. You know, I'm seeing a lot more Jewish men recently wear yarmulkes. I think Ben Shapiro started wearing one. I never noticed him wearing one, and then all of a sudden, I'm kind of revealing my political leanings here a little bit. I like Ben Shapiro, but it's not like I am a closet Ben Shapiro fan. I don't spend a whole lot of time listening to the man, but I happened to catch a clip of him, and he had a yarmulke on. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I mean, I know the man's Jewish, so that's good that he takes it seriously.
I'll tell you what was surprising to me. I got blocked on Twitter this week by Whispers in the Logia. Rocco Palmer.
You got blocked by Whispers in the Logia? I'd take that as a mark of pride, man.
I thought he was good. Basically, what he did was he posted the article about Cardinal Tobin of Newark now being on the Congregation for Bishops, all I did was put a facepalm picture on.
Oh,
that's all I did. I didn't say anything. I just basically said, and I got blocked for that.
That's nothing. That's no big deal. That's too bad. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge Whispers fan. I don't spend a whole lot of time listening, or I shouldn't say listening, reading that material. But he does seem to have an ear to the gossip in the Vatican. I mean, he had more of it when Benedict was in. Yes, that's true.
And I'll be honest, I forgot I was even following him.
Oh, that's all right.
So
maybe I'll have to go over and give him a follow now. I don't know. Okay. I did not see the previous greeting, have to confess.
Oh! Yes.
Mountains of Elysium. Very good. Okay, cool. I'm down.
So my little channel broke 600 the other day.
Oh, good. That's terrific. You probably think I have more followers than you, but you probably have more people committed to you. I think mine just followed me so I could get a live stream pass through YouTube. But that's all right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm slowly working on stuff.
Good.
One of the things I was going to try to cover is the Pope's visit to Iraq. Yes. I don't know if you watched any of it.
I haven't been following it super closely, but I certainly have been keeping an ear to the ground on it and certainly have been following it. I saw he celebrated the Chaldean Divine Liturgy, which is pretty cool.
I was watching that on EWTN yesterday, if Jeff's still watching.
Wow. Oh, that's great.
Jeff works down there.
Who's Jeff?
The guy that I've been putting up.
Oh, Jeff Burson. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So, but yeah, I guess the main thing is nothing has happened. Nothing. I mean, nothing bad.
Right.
I mean, the whole fear is he's going to a very insecure part of the world, and
right.
And thankfully, no news is good news.
That's right. Yeah. No, I agree with that. Oh, wow. I'm on with somebody from EWTN. How about that? Or at least talking to somebody from EWTN who's watching me. I should probably put on a good face or something. I don't know.
I hate to say, but I think it's been, good heavens, it's coming up to almost 30 years since I've been there.
Wow. I have never been. I would like to. Someday I would like to. Maybe post-COVID. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, the last time I saw Jeff was when I was a deacon, and I think I told you the story. I tried to take side trips back to Philadelphia, and I wanted to go see the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville. So I went from Iowa to Nashville, which is not bad. But then I looked, it's like Birmingham's only 2 hours away. No, I want to go back to EWTN. I want to see my friends down there. So I went to EWTN, and then I swung up through the Carolinas and Pennsylvania back to Philadelphia. So I went from Iowa to Pennsylvania via Birmingham, Alabama.
Wow, that's
a little out of the way.
It's a little out of the way. It's what is it? There's something in the scriptures. I don't remember what I can't remember. I cannot think of the passage. It's in the gospel where it says Jesus went to. So it might have been. It might be the story. Actually, the woman at the well, it would have been today's gospel in year A, or if you had one of the scrutinies today. But I can't remember for sure. But I remember I preached a homily on it. And I tried to explain to my parishioners, I said, what this is essentially saying is it's sort of like saying Jesus went to Minnesota by way of Missouri. Or Jesus was in Iowa and went to Minnesota by way of Missouri. And like the directions are all goofed up, but it had some significance. And for the life of me, I cannot think of which passage that was. Oh, well, doesn't matter. That's his life. But I'm glad you went. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I've only been to Alabama once, but someday.
Well, what was fun was on one of my trips back, I wanted to go see Cooperstown. And if I'm going to go to one area, I want to make the most of it. And I wish I had planned it better, because I saw 2 hours from Cooperstown is Stockbridge, Massachusetts.
Right, Divine Mercy Shrine.
Which, okay, I love the Divine Mercy, but I need something more than the Divine Mercy Shrine to drive 2 hours out of the way to be able to see. And I found it in the Norman. Well, I found it in the Norman Rockwell Museum.
Oh.
He's from Stockbridge. No, he's from Stockbridge.
Is he really? I thought that guy was
his museum is in Stockbridge.
No kidding. All right.
So I spent more time and money.
Stockbridge, Massachusetts.
It's in very eastern part of Massachusetts.
Yeah, it is. Okay, that's not. Well, that's
it's close to Cooperstown.
That is close. That is close to Cooperstown. And so, for your listeners who may not know, what's the significance of Cooperstown?
Well, it's Baseball Hall of Fame.
Exactly. Okay. So you and I get that because you and I are both baseball fans. But
well, I got to tell you too. So for those watching, you cannot break into the rec tray because it's not in here. This is in my safety deposit box under lock and key at the bank. 8 years ago, I bought a Mike Trout rookie card.
No.
A PSA 10.
Oh, wow.
I paid $64 for that thing.
Well, depending on how, it depends on how many were made. And
no, it's the Topps update, which is one of the main rookie cards. That sucker's worth $5,000 now.
Yeah, well, and it'll only go up. The baseball card market's not as hot as it once used to be.
No, it isn't.
But still, a Mike Trout rookie, because he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And now, it'd be nice if he could, if he was on a better team. You have to bug your
hopefully, Father Schultes is not watching.
Yeah. So Tom Schultes, if you're watching, the Angels suck.
He's not.
Man. Okay.
He's not.
Like, they need to get some pitching. Their pitching's a joke. But no, you and I are both baseball fans. What do you?
I was a Yankees fan. I'll be honest. This last year, I really haven't watched anything.
Well, I didn't either. I did not renew my MLB.TV subscription, which I usually subscribe so I can catch some Pirates games during the year. But I didn't renew it last year for a lot of reasons. One among them is I hate the new rules that they put in.
I'm not familiar.
Oh, gosh. Like, they forced the designated hitter on the National League, which NL Baseball does not use the DH. I'm sorry. # ban the DH. What else? They've got this gimmicky extra innings rule that if you go to extra innings, you get a runner to start on second base. I'm like, what are we playing? Little League Baseball now? It sounds like ghost runners that you play in your backyard, not the major leagues. Double headers are only 7 innings. It's just like, are we going to start saying that...
I guess I didn't realize this.
Yeah, yeah. Sunday getaway games are, they aren't saying this, but I'm like, this is a logical conclusion. We should just make Sunday getaway games 5 innings long because, hey, everybody's got to get out of town. You got to get on that flight. Why play 9 innings when you can be done in 5? So just bugs me.
Let me see. So anyway, the one on the bottom... On the bottom left is the PSA 10.
Okay.
Everything else is a Mike Trout 2013, 2014.
Can you zoom in on that by chance?
Let me see if I can do that. I have to open it up in a new window.
Okay. Well, if you can't, don't worry about it.
I think I got it.
Okay.
So I gave away about 9/10 of my baseball cards from childhood to one of our parishioners to give to his grandson.
Oh, nice.
Because the cards from the 80s are pretty much worth less today than they were back then.
Sure.
But today, if you want to take a chance to hit a good score, you have to buy the hobby pack from the hobby store.
Okay.
And I did... With some of these, I do have some cards, and again, they're all in the safety deposit box. But the purple one that you see there on the top, that's a Toys R Us parallel.
Okay.
Which is rare.
Wow.
Which I'm going to get sent in to get graded.
With. Well, and that's the thing, a lot of your listeners might not be familiar with this, but sports cards are rated, right? So if you tune into Pawn Stars sometime, and Rick Harrison knows all about this stuff. Okay. But they get rated by this company, and a PSA 10 is the highest rating that you can get, which it's very rare. Yeah, exactly. It's basically mint condition, and so to have rookie cards are generally worth more. Obviously, the better the player, the more they're worth. And so if you have a Mike Trout PSA 10 Topps rookie card, when he goes into the Hall of Fame, there's no telling how much that card could be worth.
Again, that's going to stay in the safety deposit box.
Good choice. No, it's good.
Till retirement.
Well, exactly. There you go. Finance your retirement from it. Because he's the consensus top player in baseball right now. He'll be a shoo-in first ballot Hall of Famer, assuming he keeps on the same trajectory he's on right now.
Or doesn't end up like O.J. Simpson.
Well, that too. Tragically, we all
not to go down the bad road.
That's a way, but Yeah.
So, but anyway, so yeah, like I said at the beginning, they found Father Cappen's body.
Yes.
And that is awesome. For those that do not know who he is, he was a chaplain during the Korean War that was captured as a prisoner of war and ended up dying in captivity, ministering to his soldiers. And they never found the body until recently. And I don't know how they did that.
I have no idea.
See... Yeah, so it says that he was one of 848 unidentified soldiers returned to the United States as part of Operation Glory. He was given the Medal of Honor by President Obama in 2013. Still doesn't explain how they figured out it's his bones or whatever, but hopefully he'll be canonized. I mean, I know his cause is up for consideration right now.
Yeah, I don't know where he's at on that process. Do you know? I mean, is he servant of God right now?
I believe so. Let me bring that also up. I was looking that up too.
Okay.
Hold on. Let's see if I can do this. Because this would be a good time to explain how the canonization process works.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get that. Okay, so this is from the Diocese of Wichita, where Father Cappan was from. Let's see. Okay, so it says he was in prison camp for 7 months. He spent himself in heroic service without regard to race, color, or creed. Stole food for the hungry, picked lice off of men, washed dirty and soiled clothing, and encouraged men through prayer and humor to keep fighting for life. And when he got sick, he was moved to a hospital, which denied him medical assistance, and he died in 1951. So when 2 years later, the prisoner of war were released. With them came a beautiful crucifix carved in the camp by a Jewish POW who was inspired by tales of Father Cappan. The prisoners testified to Father Cappan's role in their survival and began to tell the world about the heroic and saintly chaplain. So they're in this beginning part. So yeah, servant of God, declared in 1993. And as it says, the step involves a thorough investigation into the person's life and writings. And depending on who the person is, that could take a while.
Right.
So after that, he will be declared venerable. So the Congregation for Saints, and that's in Rome, reviews the life of the servant of God, looking for evidence that he lived the theological and cardinal virtues, so faith, hope, and love, theological. Cardinal virtues of temperance, prudence, justice, and fortitude. The congregation will then vote on whether or not to present the case to the Holy Father, who makes the final decision. If the Pope approves, then the congregation will issue a decree of heroic virtue, giving the title Venerable. The next stage is beatification, where it's a statement that is worthy of belief that the candidate for sainthood is in heaven. It allows the Blessed's home diocese or region to honor him by celebrating him on certain feast days. And in order to be beatified, he must have a miracle attributed to his intercession as supernatural evidence that he is with God. And the miracle must take place after his death. Martyrs, those who die for their faith, can be beatified without a miracle. But we have received word that Father Cappan most likely will not be named a martyr. And then the final step is canonization, where the Church formally declares a person to be in heaven and enrolls him in the canon or list of saints. Another miracle having occurred after beatification is needed to show that God indeed approves this step. Canonization means the saint can be celebrated in liturgies and with images throughout the entire church.
Cool.
Mouthful.
A lot of that was information I didn't know. That's interesting.
Diocese of Wichita's page.
Cool.
No, I did not hear about this.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so Father McGivney is the founder of the Knights of Columbus. He's up. Mm-hmm. Wasn't he just beatified?
I believe so, yeah. Yeah.
That's the last step before canonization.
Right.
No, I did not hear about that.
Excuse me.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I did hear about the windows or the beard. Yeah, it's just something. It was one of those things. Quite honestly, I had my mask on and I didn't shave for a few days. When I just had a couple of days, I just didn't shave, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna let this grow and just see what happens. And it's just, I don't know. My students like it. My students seem to enjoy it. I don't know, but I figure, okay, it's just a little Lenten penance. It's coming off at Easter, so.
I gotta mention.
I've never had a beard before.
So with the Knights of Columbus, I did talk about them in my church history class, and Good. On my final, I asked them who started the Knights of Columbus, and the options were A, Father Bing Crosby, B, Monsignor Frank Sinatra, I think it was. No, Monsignor Dean Martin, C, Father Michael McGivney, or D, Sammy Cardinal Davis Jr.
Gosh. When in doubt, choose C, right?
Yeah. Some people got it wrong.
I wouldn't be. It doesn't shock me that teenagers wouldn't know who those people are. It doesn't surprise me, but that's all right. Hopefully he intercedes for them anyway.
Oh, he does. I'm sure he does.
And for us.
So, but other than that, I don't know. There's really not much going on out here.
Yeah, ditto. Hopefully we start opening our liturgies up a little bit more. That's my hope.
Yes, Jack, I know that Sammy was Jewish. But I had a good feeling that the majority of my kids would not know who the Rat Pack was. So what are you still doing for guidelines?
Well, masks are required. Distancing in the pews. No sign of peace. No distribution of the precious blood. That's no big deal. No holy water in the holy water fonts. No papers. No congregational singing. As of right now, no servers, no processions. Priests can't greet people after Mass. We're supposed to go straight back to the sacristy. Yeah. And so that's all going away. Some of that is going away on Palm Sunday. So we're going to be allowed to start going to the back and greeting people. And choirs can be expanded to 8 people. Right now, we just allow 1 cantor. So we're going to allow up to 8 people in a choir. And what else? Processions can start back up. Servers, I don't know if I said that or not. That can start on Palm Sunday. So that'd be good. Yeah, I am very much ready to get back to normal, but all in due time. What do you guys still have in place?
We've been told we could take everything down, but it's up to the pastors. So my place, we still have the dividers up between the pews. We're not having the holy water anytime soon, because as I told people, if you ever looked at that, it gets nasty. I've asked people to receive in the hand. As I told people, you'll be helping my anxiety if you do, because if I make contact with tongue, then I'm going to have to stop communion, go wash my hands.
Right.
And as I explain it, I'd rather have dry contact on the hand than wet contact on the tongue.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the main parish, we don't have any singing. The missals are out of the pews, but the other two parishes, the missals are back in the pews, and we started singing again.
Good.
But as I told people, this is as long as the cases don't go up. Because if everything starts to go up again, then we're going to have to roll it back. But there's no offertory, no sign of peace, of course. I'm lucky if I even have a server.
Okay.
My one parish, the one server just graduated, so the next kid that could qualify for it is kindergarten.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
And as you know, my diocese is the last diocese in the nation to only have altar boys.
I think Phoenix does now.
Oh, okay.
That's what I've heard.
Olmsted.
Yeah.
One of ours.
But Arlington used to. Arlington doesn't anymore.
Arlington used to, but not anymore.
Well, yeah, now I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that regarding Phoenix, but I had heard that Bishop Olmsted instituted that policy there to only have male altar servers. But I could be mistaken on that. I don't know.
Well, I know that the Holy Father just recently allowed women acolytes.
Yes.
Which is kind of interesting. Well, the lectors really isn't lectors are not really that big of a shock or a big change. I mean, because we already have women reading.
Right. And most dioceses have women serving as extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion. And so a lot of people may not understand the distinction between, like, what's a reader.
And that's what I was going to go for.
Right. Don't they do the same thing? So explain that for us, will you?
Well, I mean, okay, so lector, and acolyte are two of the ministries a man usually receives when they're going through the seminary. And in the case of acolyte in my diocese, we do not have Eucharistic ministers. We reserve it to acolytes, which are trained men that are able to assist the priest. Basically, an adult altar boy with a little bit more responsibility and ability to do stuff like purifying the vessels, preparing the altar, but he can't put the water and the wine in the chalice.
Right.
So what we would say when we say extraordinary ministers, as priests, deacons, we're the ordinary form. We're the ordinary ministers. But in cases where there's not enough priests, we have extraordinary ministers, which would be the lay people that can help distribute communion. What an acolyte would be for a lay person is an ordinary, extraordinary minister, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I mean...
Because they trump the Eucharistic minister.
Right. So, for instance, like, at our school mass, myself and my deacon distribute Holy Communion every week, and then two teachers need to help us, but one of whom is one of our theology teachers, and he's actually an instituted acolyte. And so, because that never changes, and it's consistent, like, technically you're only instituted as an extraordinary minister of Holy Communion parish to parish. And so technically that doesn't carry with it the designation when you go to a different parish or certainly to a different diocese. But being instituted as an acolyte does. And so this man was in the seminary. He made it quite a way through. I mean, obviously he received the ministry of acolyte and discerned that he was not called to the priesthood. And so he left seminary formation and he teaches theology for us now. And I always make sure that he helps distribute Holy Communion at every mass that he's at, because an acolyte should be utilized before an extraordinary minister of Holy Communion. And so what Father Miller noted is that the Holy Father, Pope Francis, opened this ministry up to women. Previously, up until this year, it had not been. Technically, an acolyte was, as Father said, a man on the path to priesthood or diaconate. You could be in formation for the permanent diaconate as well.
So, yeah, it's still in the early stages of seeing how that's going to happen. But the reason I mention it is I don't really know many dioceses that actually install laymen as acolytes.
Lincoln's the only one that I know of.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, so I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, I don't mind saying this publicly on air. For the people that are watching, Father Miller and I have known each other for a long time. He was in seminary when I was a student at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln, and I found my vocation to the priesthood by being a student there at the University of Nebraska, and I just discerned that God was calling me to serve my home diocese of Sioux City, Iowa, and so here I am. But I make no bones about it. I think more dioceses and parishes ought to emulate what the Diocese of Lincoln is doing, because one of the things that's going on in my parish right now, is that we're in the process of some pretty severe pastoral planning that's going to really hurt for a lot of folks that are going to see a lot of changes. And as it sits now, one of our parishes is going to lose their Sunday Mass, unfortunately. And we'll see if the bishop wants to change his mind on that. I don't know if he will or not. That's entirely up to him and the people that advise him and his prayer and whatnot. But the reality is, I tell my people, we have 48 priests to serve 24 counties. And of those 48 priests, 34 of them are going to retire in the next 20 years. So we have 14 priests in our diocese under the age of 50. You walk across the river to the Diocese of Lincoln, and you guys are ordaining 5, 6, 7, 8 priests a year, every year.
Last year we had 4.
Well, only 4. I think we've ordained 4 in the last 8 years combined. And so you look at that and you say, okay, something is working here, right? There's a formula here that is working, and it just seems smart to me that we ought to emulate that. I'm certainly not trying to say that your diocese is heaven on earth, because I think no place is heaven on earth.
No, and we have our own issues too.
Exactly, there's issues everywhere, but I tell you what, the parishes where I'm serving right now, some of them would be, a size of a parish in your diocese where there might be at least 1, if not 2 priests assigned. And I always tell people, because one of the things that gets brought up, and maybe some of my parishioners are listening, saying, why don't we bring in priests from Lincoln? Why don't you guys share? And I always say to them, like, well, for starters, because Bishop Conley would say he needs all of you guys. But
I have 3 parishes.
Well, exactly. Father Miller has 3 parishes, but
we don't have that many extra priests. Okay, so you probably know Father Kane.
Oh, sure, Father Brian Kane.
He's the dean of men at St. Charles, where I went to the seminary in Philadelphia.
Right.
So he's on loan. Father Monsignor Guerra's on loan. Monsignor Fucinaro's on loan.
He's in Rome, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in Rome. There's a number of our priests that are on loan for service in the church in other areas.
Well, and my thing that I always come back to folks and say is this. Look, I've seen a lot of secretaries that have on their door a little sign. It's a pithy little saying, but it makes total sense. Is lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. And so I always want to come back to folks and say, look, people, listen. Lack of ability to raise up priests in the Diocese of Sioux City does not constitute an emergency for the Diocese of Lincoln. It's just, that's just not the way it works, right? We have men in our diocese who are being called to serve Holy Mother Church as a priest, that they need to hear that call. And so, I'm the chaplain of a Catholic school, and we certainly preach it and try and get them to hear that and listen to what the Lord is saying, and hopefully that bears fruit. And I have no doubt that it will, because I have no doubt that the Lord is going to raise men up.
The school system for here is the reason why we have all the vocations we do.
Exactly.
My first student was just ordained a priest last year.
Praise God. That's awesome.
I have another one that will be ordained a transitional deacon this May.
Wow.
And then, awesome. And then I got a third that's like in his second year of theology now.
Isn't that a great feeling when you've had some kind of influence on some of these men? Yeah, it's awesome. I see down here, Evan is personally discerning.
I was just going to mention that.
Monk. That's awesome. We'll pray for you, Evan.
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of awesome Benedictine communities.
Absolutely.
The one that I actually looked into before I came to Lincoln was the Atkinson, the Benedictines down in Kansas.
Oh, yeah, at Benedictine College, sure.
Yeah.
Very good. There's Conception Abbey in Missouri. There's St. Meinrad's Arch Abbey in Indiana.
And they're improving too, I believe.
Beg your pardon?
They're improving.
Oh, very much so. Oh yeah, they're wonderful. Very, very good.
I mean, there was a time where St. Meinrad's was really liberal, I would say.
Yeah.
Was, but
yeah.
Right. But have you ever been to the Trappist up in Dubuque?
Oh yeah, done my canonical retreat with them a couple of times.
Okay.
Oh sure.
I haven't been up there in probably 20 years. I'd like to get back there someday.
Yeah, it's called New Mellery Abbey, and in fact, I was just talking about them the other day with somebody. I was just telling somebody about them. They pray and they work and they make caskets. I mean, that's their work. They make caskets, and I think aren't the Trappists an offshoot of the Benedictines?
I think so.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. I think. Fatherhood?
Every man is called to be a father.
Yeah.
Just depends on what kind of father you're called to be.
And some of the Benedictines I know are priests, some are not.
Right.
So.
Evan also asked another question over there.
Oh, the
Why
blood?
Is the precious blood given out at the traditional Latin Mass?
Go for it.
So it was transitional in some way. Well, I don't know. To tell you the truth, I don't know. I do not know how to celebrate the Tridentine Mass, the traditional Latin Mass. I'd like to learn. I'd like to learn someday. My understanding, Father Miller, you might correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that it's because of what we understand about the doctrine of concomitance, that we believe that the body and blood of Jesus and his soul and his divinity, but the body, blood, soul, and the divinity of Christ are present in both species of the Holy Eucharist. And so
I didn't know that was the word, but yeah.
Yeah, concomitance from the Council of Trent. And so you and I as priests, when we celebrate Mass, we have to receive under both species to complete the sacrifice. To make it a valid Mass, but the lay faithful, anyone who's not an ordained priest, only needs to receive one species to receive the fullness of Jesus Christ. And so, in most cases, I think in the extraordinary form, that's people will receive under the species of bread. I suppose if someone had a severe gluten allergy where they couldn't even receive a low gluten host without it causing a medical issue, they could receive the precious blood. We have an individual in our parish that's in a situation like that. And so, my whole thing has always been Evan's question.
My whole thing has always been nervous about handing the chalice because some people don't always take the good grip on it, and some are kind of loose. And I mean, unlike the host, if it falls, you can pick it up, but if the blood falls, that's bad.
What do you do? Yeah, exactly. It's tough.
Let's see. Mountains had a good comment. So when I was young, I felt a calling to the priesthood, but never followed it. I'm married to a wonderful woman now and don't regret my choice, but sometimes wonder what if I had followed the other path. The thing is, I would say, I mean, the idea is, if you go into the seminary, you're not guaranteed to be ordained a priest. I mean, the idea is to discern if this is what you're supposed to do with your life, and if you don't like the seminary life, praying and all of that, then that's probably a sign you're not meant to be a priest. But it sounds like you found your vocation to marriage, just as we have found ours to the priesthood.
That's right. And I tell the young men in my class and the young women too that I teach, and I suspect you do the same. I'm like, look, guys, I want you to discern your vocation, but I don't want you to become a priest just because we have a priest shortage. That'd be a terrible reason to become a priest. You become a priest because God calls you to it. If God calls you to marriage, then you should be married.
I'll tell you,
God calls you to do.
I'm heading down to Nebraska City on Wednesday. Okay. And I'm actually getting together with a former student of mine who's now a missionary to Haiti.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so looking forward to it. She was in Taiwan last year, but then when as we say on the internet, the thing that shall not be named, because if you mention the P word or the C word, it can kind of affect the whatever the functions of YouTube. So I don't think I told you my homily got muted by YouTube.
Really?
So it was like two.
Thanks, huh? Thought I preached hard homilies.
2 weeks ago, I think it was the second reading was, if I preach the gospel, that's no boast for me to, or that's no reason for me to boast. Woe to me if I don't. So then I talked about President Biden's executive order on the Mexico City policy, and then allowing transgendered athletes to compete in the sport they identify. My cardinal sin is I did what is known as dead naming, referring to a person by their original name.
What?
So calling the former
by their original, like, don't you only usually have one name? Like, my original name is the same.
Well, I'm not going to say it on here, but I'm thinking of the Olympic athlete that's no longer.
Oh yes.
On the Wheaties box. So I mentioned it by his original name, and when I came back from the pulpit, I also mentioned the actress from Juno, who just came out and said that she's the man.
Okay, I guess I'm not familiar with that. I don't know anything about that.
She was in Inception, last name Page. First letter starts with an E.
I'm
Ellen.
sorry.
Okay, well, anyway, what happened was, after I got back from the pulpit, I noticed that the people on my computer couldn't hear the Mass. Somehow the sound had died, and I noticed that the mute button was on. So I figured, okay, this is a weird fluke. I decided the next morning I would restream the Mass. I made sure the mute was off, and gave the homily, and came back, the mute was on again.
That is so weird. That is so weird. And you know, and the irony is, like, I have no ill will towards President Biden. None whatsoever. You know, I really don't. I pray for him daily, and if anything, we should be called to pray for him more.
Even more, yeah.
For starters, he's a baptized Catholic. He's part of our family, right? He's a brother in the faith. And he's a brother in the faith who has strayed far from the truth that God has revealed about the sanctity and the dignity of human life. And so, regardless of whatever office he holds, he's going to have to answer for things at his judgment that I would not want to answer for. And I pray that he makes a good confession between now and whenever the Lord calls him to that judgment.
Well, the thing I always said,
on our knees, fasting and praying for President Biden's conversion every day.
I think it's going to be amazing to see how many people are saved by invincible ignorance.
Yeah, I hope so.
For those that are watching, invincible ignorance is one of the terms. Basically, you can't be held accountable for something you didn't know was wrong.
We worship a merciful God, amen?
Yes. So we're coming up to the top of the hour. I figured we'd go about an hour tonight. Do you allow those who wish to kneel to receive our Lord? Let me start over. Do you allow those who wish to kneel to receive our Lord to take Holy Communion while on their knees? My old parish called those people selfish, which I feel is a terrible disrespect to the sacrament. I haven't refused. The only thing I would say is if you're kneeling and the priest is standing, I mean, it's the thing that I've been distributing with a face mask on is because I'm wearing glasses, they get fogged up. So if I'm distributing on the tongue, it feels like I'm an airplane coming to the carrier at night and I can't see.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's all true. In our parish, we have a few people that desire to receive that way, and I certainly don't refuse them. Mm-hmm. The thing that I would always say is prudence has to be always, prudence is the charioteer of the virtues, the Catechism tells us. And so, for instance, when I was in seminary, we had an old saintly Jesuit, Father Ralph Drendel, S.J., who was in his 90s, was still serving in our seminary, and he was the house confessor. He would hear confessions, that was what he did. He'd hear confessions and he'd set up breakfast. And once in a blue moon, he would offer Mass and preach, and his homilies were usually phenomenal. But we were always asked, if Father Drendel is distributing communion, please do not receive on your tongue, because he had Parkinson's disease and his hand shook, and it was hard for him to put that host on your mouth. If the priest is elderly and it's hard for him to bow down to put the host on your tongue, I mean, there has to be some deference there.
Yeah.
But in general, I think I think the more reverent we can be when we receive our Lord in the Holy Eucharist, I think it's a wonderful witness, actually. I'd far rather have someone receiving that way than kind of the Halloween candy style that is prevalent in so many places. Just, the body of Christ, amen. We don't even think about it.
Yoink.
Right, exactly. I would far rather have that. So, yeah.
So, well, again, top of the hour. Any last thoughts?
Pray for me. I'm going to go get my workout in. I haven't got my daily workout in yet. It's time.
So, just a reminder, again, I'm going to be streaming live on Friday at 8 o'clock Central. The reason we have this at 2 o'clock UK time is because I also stream with some guys from England. Nice. So if they're watching too. I did stream yesterday with the Mega Geek, Ian, who is from London. So I've been doing a live stream on the first Saturday with a few people. And that's been fun. It's been more of a nerd stream. So, Rose, it is good to see you again.
Thanks, Rosie.
So,
Rose invited me over for dinner tonight.
Good.
I didn't have a chance to respond to her text, and so sorry, Rose. I couldn't come because I had already committed to doing
Blame
this.
me.
Yeah, so
it's the first time in a few months.
Exactly. Rose, I hope you're enjoying your dinner with Father Shinosh. Say hello to him for me.
So, before we leave, just please make sure you hit the like button, and if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe and ring the bell so you can be notified when new videos are uploaded. I uploaded yesterday 2 videos I found from CBS of the actual coverage of John Paul II being shot from 1981. And it's As It Happened news coverage. So you can find that on my channel. But I'm in the process of uploading different things. So if you hit the ring bell, you can be notified when there's new videos. So I'm going to stream again next week. If you're able to join, great. If not, I'm going to do solo either way. So till next time, everybody, God bless. And